Hello and welcome. In this video, we will discuss various database languages used to communicate with the database. After watching this video, you will be able to explain the database languages used to communicate with the database. A database is an organized collection of data. So how do you organize the data? In order to do this, we must know the database languages to interact with the relational database management systems, RDBMS. So what are database languages? Database languages are used to store, update, and retrieve data in a database. You can perform these operations using the most popular relational database management systems such as Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2, and much more. There are 4 different types of database languages through which you can interact with the database systems: data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, and transaction control language. Now let us look at each one of them. Data definition language is the set of commands that are used to define the database structure or schema. It is also referred to as the metadata of the database. Basically, the data definition language statements create a skeleton of the database. Consider an example for creating a database for students. First thing is you will decide on the information that needs to go into the students table, such as the student's ID, first name, last name, date of birth, and much more. This can be done using create statement by defining the column name and the data type as shown on screen. After creation of the student table, if you want to add a new column, delete an existing column, change the data type of a column, or even rename a column, you can use alter statement as shown on screen. A new column, phone number, is added to existing student table. The alter statement changes the structure of a database. Phone number is renamed to mobile number. Mobile number column is deleted from the student table. To free the memory space in database, you want to delete the whole table, which is no longer required. How will you do this? In this case, you can use the drop statement to delete the entire table from the database along with its contents. An existing student table has to be renamed to Student List 2016. So how will you do this? In this case, you can use the rename statement to change the name of the table. Once you have created the structure of database, you must know how to manage the database. In order to do this, you must know the data manipulation language for accessing and manipulating data in a database. Now let us look at the statements that we can use in data manipulation language. Continuing with our example, after defining the structure for student table, how are you going to insert values into it? To do this, you can use the insert statement, which can be done in 2 ways. That is, by mentioning the column values within the query, or just inserting the values to the column they belong accordingly. After inserting the data into the student table, how are we going to see it? In this case, you can use the select statement to retrieve data from the database as shown on screen. Select statement can be used for various purposes. It allows you to retrieve specific data from the table. For example, if you want to retrieve only student's ID and first name, you can use the select statement as shown on screen. Select statement helps in quick retrieval of the data. For example, if you want to retrieve information about a particular student, use the select statement as shown on screen. Similar to where clause, there are other different clauses used along with select statement data such as group by, order by, and having. After storing data into the student table, suppose you want to make changes to the existing data. You can do this using the update statement. Continuing with our example, the date of birth of student Joe Smith was incorrectly stored as July in the student table. As shown on screen, the date of birth is updated to January by mentioning the student ID of Joe. To see the updated changes made to the student table, use the select statement. Suppose if the student has left the school and now the student need not be marked for attendance. Now you want to delete the records of that particular student. How will you do this? To perform this task, you can use the delete statement. Continuing with our example, if the student Maria Williams with student ID 2016003 has left the school for that academic year, perform the delete query shown on screen to delete the student record for Maria. Now run a select query to check whether the student record Maria is deleted from the student table. The next step is to decide who can access or view the data. You need to explicitly tell the database who can view the table and what kind of access like read, write, delete should be given to the users. In order to perform this task, you need to use the data control language to grant or revoke access to the user. The grant statement is used to provide privilege to user, and the revoke statement is used to cancel the privilege given to the user. Continuing with our example, if you want to grant, select, insert, update, and delete privileges to a user Peter, you need to run the grant statement as shown on screen. Similarly, if you want to revoke all the privileges from the user Peter, you need to run the revoke statement as shown on screen. The last step is about managing all these transactions you do on the database. Suppose you accidentally delete some records and you want to revert it back, or while running an update statement, there was some problem and now you are not sure which data is updated and which is not. What do you do in such situations? In this case, you can use the transaction control language. This is used to manage the changes made by data manipulation language statements. The different transaction control statements are commit, rollback, and save point. The commit statement is used to permanently save any transaction into database. The rollback statement restores database to its original state since the last commit. And the save point statement is used to temporarily save a transaction so that you can roll back to that point whenever necessary.
Starting from now.
थोड़ा नीचे करो ना, थोड़ा हाँ. Now let us use some transaction control statements on the student table shown on screen. Here, the commit statement will store the data permanently into student table, and save point A will create a temporary save point at this transaction. Similarly, save point B will create a temporary save point at this transaction. Now roll back to save point A. This will display the resultant student table till the data stored at save point A as shown on screen. Now let us do a quick recap of this video. Database languages are used to store, update, and retrieve data in a database. There are 4 types of database languages used to interact with the database systems. Data definition languages are used to define the structure of the database. It uses commands like create, alter, rename, and drop. Data manipulation languages are used to manage the database. It uses commands like select, insert, delete, and update. Data control language is used to grant or revoke access to the user. Transaction control languages are used to manage the changes made by data manipulation language statements. It uses commands like commit, rollback, and save point. Thank you for watching this video.